Welcome back to Short Legs Dark Tales. This week, we're stepping further into the shadowy world of the woman in white as we explore Chapter 4. Walter Hartright has arrived at Limmeridge House, where the peaceful countryside and genteel company mask a growing sense of unease. As he settles into his role, the mystery of the woman in white lingers at the edges, refusing to be forgotten. In this chapter, new relationships begin to form. Subtle tensions stir beneath the surface, and questions quietly multiply. Who can be trusted? What is being left unsaid? Let's turn the page and step fully into Chapter 4. She has escaped from my asylum. I cannot say with truth that the terrible inference which those words suggested flashed upon me like a new revelation. Some of the strange questions put to me by the woman in white after my ill-considered promise to leave her free to act as she pleased had suggested the conclusion either that she was naturally flighty and unsettled, or that some recent shock of terror had disturbed the balance of her faculties. But the idea of absolute insanity, which we all associate with the very name of an asylum, had, I can honestly declare, never occurred to me in connection with her. I had seen nothing in her language or her actions to justify it at the time, and even with the new light thrown on her by the words which the stranger had addressed to the policeman, I could see nothing to justify it now. What had I done? Assisted the victim of the most horrible of all false imprisonments to escape, or cast loose on the wide world of London an unfortunate creature, whose actions it was my duty, and every man's duty, mercifully to control? I turned sick at heart when the question occurred to me, and when I felt self-reproachfully that it was asked too late. In the disturbed state of my mind, it was useless to think of going to bed, when I at last got back to my chambers in Clement's Inn. Before many hours elapsed, it would be necessary to start on my journey to Cumberland. I sat down and tried, first to sketch, then to read. But the woman in white got between me and my pencil, between me and my book. Had the forlorn creature come to any harm? That was my first thought, though I shrank selfishly from confronting it. Other thoughts followed, on which it was less harrowing to dwell. Where had she stopped the cab? What had become of her now? Had she been traced and captured by the men in the chaise? Or was she still capable of controlling her own actions? And were we two following our widely parted roads towards one point in the mysterious future, at which we were to meet once more? It was a relief when the hour came to lock my door, to bid farewell to London pursuits, London pupils and London friends, and to be in movement again towards new interests and a new life. Even the bustle and confusion at the railway terminus, so wearisome and bewildering at other times, roused me and did me good. My traveling instructions directed me to go to Carlisle, and then to diverge by a branch railway which ran in the direction of the coast. As a misfortune to begin with, our engine broke down between Lancaster and Carlisle. The delay occasioned by this accident caused me to be too late for the branch train, by which I was to have gone on immediately. I had to wait some hours, and when a later train finally deposited me at the nearest station to Limmeridge House, it was past 10, and the night was so dark that I could hardly see my way to the pony chaise, which Mr. Fairley had ordered to be in waiting for me. The driver was evidently discomposed by the lateness of my arrival. He was in that state of highly respectful sulkiness which is peculiar to English servants. We drove away slowly through the darkness in perfect silence. The roads were bad, and the dense obscurity of the night increased the difficulty of getting over the ground quickly. It was, by my watch, nearly an hour and a half from the time of our leaving the station before I heard the sound of the sea in the distance and the crunch of our wheels on a smooth gravel drive. We had passed one gate before entering the drive, and we passed another before we drew up at the house. I was received by a solemn manservant out of livery, was informed that the family had retired for the night, and was then led into a large and lofty room where my supper was awaiting me, in a forlorn manner, at one extremity of a lonesome mahogany wilderness of dining table. I was too tired and out of spirits to eat or drink much, especially with the solemn servant waiting on me, as elaborately as if a small dinner party had arrived at the house instead of a solitary man. In a quarter of an hour I was ready to be taken up to my bedchamber. The solemn servant conducted me into a prettily furnished room, said, "Breakfast at 9 o'clock, sir," looked all round him to see that everything was in its proper place, and noiselessly withdrew. What shall I see in my dreams tonight? I thought to myself as I put out the candle, the woman in white, or the unknown inhabitants of this Cumberland mansion. It was a strange sensation to be sleeping in the house, like a friend of the family, and yet not to know one of the inmates, even by sight. Thank you so much for joining us on Short Legs, Dark Tales as we wandered deeper into the secrets of Limmeridge House in Chapter 4 of The Woman in White. We're grateful to have you along for the mystery, the mood, and every twist of the tale. Next week, we'll be continuing with Chapter 5, where the plot thickens and the shadows start to shift. Until then, keep your eyes open, your ears sharp, and your curiosity alive.